but
All right.
it's all working. So right now, it's not really a problem.
Of course, of course. So here is a new experience for the Gospel of Comics, which is in exile because of uh,
Okay.
because of things.
Welcome to
Uh,
Gospel in the Afternoon.
Gospel in the afternoon. We're either we're either super late or we're early. It all depends because I rescheduled the stream after Joe had a little problem thanks to Comcast being the biggest and most unreliable cable system in the country.
Yeah. If Doctor Who was not a devalued property, we could call it a timey-wimey, wibbly sort of thing. But
Good.
unfortunately, Doctor Who is dead. So yeah,
Well, I mean, it's not dead. It's just pining for the fjords.
right.
But yeah, so I had a epiphany as I was watching Lanterns
Hmm.
last night, and I was all excited to share it with you. But then you had your Comcast related oopsie doopsiness, Joe, and
Yeah,
then I now you're here, and we said, hey,
yeah.
let's do it early, and
Let's do it.
we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk
Let's
about
go.
it. So I realized what I don't like about Lanterns in specific in modern streaming slop content, for lack of a better word,
Hmm.
is a broad problem. Nothing really happens. So do you remember the review of Lanterns and the secondary review I did about the first episode? Do you
Hmm.
remember what really happened in the episode?
Um, child abuse, disaffected Hal Jordan hooks up with John Stewart,
Mm,
looking for aliens,
mm.
kind of find an alien, but not.
Well, I mean, he
Alien
was an
tries
alien. He was an alien. He blew himself
right,
up.
but
He was an alien suicide
but
bomb.
Alien blows himself up. Back and forth with policewoman, back and forth with militant redneck. Oh, oops, we banged militant redneck's wife, and
So
then something. John Stewart dies,
no, Hal Jordan died,
or
but
Hal Jordan
we'll
dies.
maybe, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So not a lot happened in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of milling about and a lot of holding patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode, Hal pranks John Stewart again, then sends John Stewart on a fetch quest while he talks to the townies who don't want to talk to him. He steals some bodies. He finds something out because he steals the bodies, which we'll talk about here in a second. Then he goes to talk to the violent redneck. The violent redneck says, well, I don't really want to talk to you. Shoots Hal. Hal mentions Sinestro, said the fact that the third episode's going to be more Sinestro related. John gets tortured and given information about an alien genocide. Then he comes back to Hal. Hal recharges his ring. And Hal goes to talk to Sinestro. More happened in the second episode than the first episode, but not enough for an hour of television. And a lot of the things are kind of stupid. Like let's put our thinking brains and imagine we're fictional characters that
Mm-hmm.
have at least some of the knowledge that Hal and John are supposed to do. If you go to a random podunk town in Nebraska and there are 4 dead bodies, those 4 dead bodies are aliens, and you have a 5th body that's alive for a little bit that's also an alien, that means there's a lot more aliens, right?
That would be the implication.
And these people were alerted to these aliens, which led to the shooting. I actually misinterpreted the shooting in the beginning. These were actually angry rednecks men who shot the aliens. And the townsfolk covered for angry rednecks man, which is fine. Because angry redneck put in a alien detector in the high school football stadium. And something that was set up in the prior episode is technology that's not normal for Earth. Do you need to go break in the morgue to steal the body to figure that out?
No.
You don't. You go, hey, this is a non-standard metal detector, and it didn't detect the guns, so it's not an explosive detector. And there's aliens around here, so it's most likely an alien detector. But we don't have that technology. That's not normal technology. You see, these are things you would think about if you were, doing a second pass on something you're writing or a third
Right.
pass, especially if you had a person called a story editor working in the writer's room who'd go, guys, this doesn't really work. We need to tighten this up, ratchet this up a little bit. And that's the problem. And
Well,
you,
well.
you,
See,
you
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Because that's the job that I am often approaching people for. Is, hey, I can edit, right? In this time of looking for work, I say, guys, this doesn't really work. They say, well, yeah, but it's in the script. We got to make it work. I'm like, all right. So they see the metal detector. They know it's not a human tech, but just because you have alien tech doesn't mean you know whose the alien tech belongs to. And it has a biomechanical component. So now breaking into the morgue to scan the corpses is eliminating false positives, because you can say these dead aliens had nothing to do with it. Their biology doesn't match the biomechanical component of this alien detector that shouldn't be here. Now your bad plot makes some modicum of sense.
you can argue that's what Hal Jordan did, but you don't really need to break into the morgue to steal the aliens to do that. But
You
of
don't.
course,
But if you had to, I'm saying
but
you
of
put the
course,
tools in front of people.
Hal used the stealing of the dead bodies to set up more will they, won't they with police lady, which led to Hal going back to Angry Redneck Man's house and getting shot, going to the hospital, where there were some bits of concerning story elements were introduced in the hospital. And then he gets his battery back, he charges his ring, and he flies to the prison where Sinestro is, because of things that were. Well, let's get into the reviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're in their hotel room, and Hal throws cold water on John Stewart, who's sleeping. So first things first, and this is important. John Stewart's a Marine sniper.
Yep.
He's trained for situations just like this.
Right. He's about to beat Hal's ass.
He doesn't.
He should.
He also knows Hal is a bit of an asshole.
I
So
mean, we
he
knew
should
that.
be expecting this. But he acts angry and confused, and bro, you've been to Marine training. This shit happens. Come the fuck on. And then Hal takes him outside and takes your day to learn how to fly. Of course, the ring has sub 10% power. So if he does successfully fly, he's going to crash to the ground and probably die. So not only is Hal an asshole, he's a malicious asshole. We're really doing a good job on trying to build connections to our characters here, so that we'll have emotions about what they're doing in the show. But in the process of trying to fly and screwing it up, John makes a bird. And Hal's like, what the fuck? Okay, listen, I need you to go pick up my battery. He hands him a ticket, and John's like, you already bought this before you gave it to me. It's like, yeah. You got to go and you got to feed my pet and take the bird with you. If you lose the bird, you fail. It's a test. So you're with me so far here.
Mm-hmm.
This is setting up the B question mark, A question mark plot. And then Hal goes around, notices, not a lot of people are in the goddamn town. He goes and they're having a town meeting. Or they stop talking the second he walks in. And everybody's saying, Jordan, you should just fucking leave town. And they act like they're talking about the local high school football team. Of course, a theory that most people who are reasonable and have brains are like, actually, all the humans in this town are aliens. So in actuality, there are no humans involved here except for Angry Redneck Man. Which is why Angry Redneck Man has beef with aliens.
I
But
am.
we haven't unpacked that yet.
Yeah. I'm trying to say something till the end, but there's so much of this nothing to talk about.
Yes, that's the best part, because they're not really doing anything, but what they're doing is really offensive,
right,
to the audience. So Hal goes to the football stadium, realizes, the metal detector doesn't detect metal. Well, let's get some more metal. He pulls a piece off the rental car.
Right.
Doesn't set off the metal detector, brings some tools. Then he goes to talk to John, do some jokes about his house, because Hal's house is a mansion that some rich asshole gave him because he saved his son and he felt emasculated that Hal wouldn't take a gift. So he made him buy him a mansion. This may be something from Green Lantern comics that I'm not aware of. Would have been much better if he said, well, I got in my divorce from my ex-wife. Wouldn't that have been something? That he got divorced from Carol Ferris and had a mansion because of it? Wouldn't that have been a more interesting story?
Oh, yeah.
Because in the prior episode, they talked about how Hal didn't have anybody, and that's why he, isn't really afraid because he doesn't have anything to lose. But John gets the lantern, and he goes to feed the pet, which is a carnivorous plant. But John whines about touching meat to feed a plant.
You're a fucking sniper. You've shot people before.
Also, just because you're vegan doesn't mean that, meat gives you cooties by touching it. You didn't kill that animal. It was dead when you got here.
Right.
And it was processed into food.
No, here's the thing.
For an alien plant.
Here's the thing. Let's take a step back. Okay. Maybe he is really grossed out by meat. Maybe it's an expression of his trauma because they like that narrative, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't like touching meat, right? So you do hard shot, opens fridge, opens drawer, looks at meat, frown, right?
Yeah.
Hard cut, checks drawer, nothing to grab it with, like no tongs or anything, right? Hard cut, checks for rubber gloves for cleaning the dishes, no rubber gloves. Fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Doesn't look at camera but looks up. Fuck. Hard cut, kitchen. There's the plant, right?
Oh no, the plant's actually in the greenhouse.
Well, greenhouse. I'm saying plant is sitting there, right?
Yeah.
John steps into frame wearing a amalgam he has constructed of sandwich bags and duct tape, right? So that his hand is completely covered by plastic as he holds the meat and looks utterly repulsed by it. But he's not really touching it because, and this is the important part, as a soldier and sniper and a creative person, which is a necessity for willpower, which he is expressing. He's expressing the willpower to do something he doesn't want to do. He has created a solution to the problem to get the job done, which would be like a theme.
Yeah, he just feeds the plant with a giant wooden fork.
I mean, that's still okay, but the way you parse it sounds like it's like, oh god, I'm touching the meat.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. That's an occasion where you can make a joke and people would enjoy it.
Now here, in the mansion, he does one thing that is useful beyond the fetch quest. He decides to bring Hal's uniform to him. And that is actually a useful bit of characterization for him and his relationship to Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
And as he's leaving Hal Jordan's mansion, a bunch of goons, bum rush him, and they put him in the van. He fights and he fights and he fights because, this is a superhero thing. We probably need an action sequence.
Right.
And then he breaks out of the van, runs in LA traffic, which is Coast City traffic, but it's LA traffic.
It's
And
not LA. Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's Southern California town traffic.
Right.
And then he gets caught again. Then he's with aliens who say, "Oh yeah, some manhunter in that town that you're at, but they're shapeshifters. We can't find them, and they can find us, so we can't go into that town safely. So we need you to go ID the manhunter and let us know in 48 hours, or else we're gonna, go biblical on the town." And also to help properly motivate you, we're going to download the memories of the genocide that the manhunter caused on our world. Now, Joe, someone's going to download memories of a genocide into a character's head. Should you see something, or better yet, should there be a sound that we, the audience, knows in the character's head?
Oh no, even better, because these are aliens, right? Instead of having them, behave like humans, right? You have them behave like aliens, right?
Hmm?
So there's Jon Stewart. They're giving their dire warning, but instead of giving it in speech, right? One of the aliens reaches out with a hand as his eyes roll up into his human-seeming head, and he touches Hal Jordan on the cranium, and Hal
Well,
Jordan
no,
gets a
Hal's not
barrage.
there.
No,
Hal's
no,
not there. It's John.
or not Hal, John, but he gets a barrage of horrific images of worlds of corpses and burning cities and
But
fucking
you think there
stock
should be?
footage,
But you
right?
think there
And you
should be
just and you have
stock footage of the horror, right?
right,
That's what you
right,
think
right,
should
and
be
you
it.
have creepy voiceover that gives the instructions. So it's like,
So you mean kind of like the
7 days, or this will be your fate.
or kind of like what they did in Mass Effect when Shepard first got
Right,
to see the
right.
wheel. So here's what happened. He was being, mildly tortured. Then they injected the memories into his brain, and he made kind of vaguely grunting and screaming while they talked to him about all the terrible things he's experiencing that we, the audience, don't get to experience.
Well, if the audience experienced them, the audience might be upset, Larry.
Well, right. But if you're going to do that, you have to do that, right? Otherwise, you're just being a cock tease. So then Hal goes to talk to the rich asshole. Rich asshole says, I was friendly and talked to you when it was in my benefit. Now it's not my benefit. So get the fuck off my property. And he's like, well, what if I just go on it anyway? Well, then I'll have somebody shoot you. Hal goes on it anyway, and somebody does, in fact, shoot him. Hal wakes up in the hospital, being treated for a gunshot wound. The sniper on Rich Asshole's property did it through and through, clean in his shoulder.
Well, that's lucky.
Well, he's a real good sniper. The Rich Asshole has a really good sniper.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, casually shooting people, we know actually it's like you should be careful that you can hit anything, because getting shot anywhere is bad. So like being like, well, it's only a through and through. It's like, no, that's potentially a lifetime of pain there, sir.
And while he was recovering in the hospital, he said the name Sinestro repeatedly in his sleep.
Right.
Cop lady asks who Sinestro is. He gives a vague but appropriate answer. And then as they're leaving the hospital, he's like, hey, there's nobody in this hospital. And by nobody, I mean there's no employees.
Yeah.
And it says, like, all this equipment looks like it just got unboxed today.
You mean because it's a fake town and he's only just starting to put that together?
That's really stupid, but yes.
Well, because I think the obvious answer at this point is everyone's an alien. The aliens are everywhere.
Except for the sheriff lady, because the sheriff lady said, listen, I've been working very hard to try to get these people to respect me and listen to me. So I don't need you to undercut my authority.
Right.
And then Hal and John reunite. John says, "Hey, some people fucking kidnapped me outside your house. Talked about a manhunter." And Hal's like, "What the fuck? Uh, what do you mean a manhunter? Where'd you hear that name?" And then he shows him.
Wait a minute. You mean he heard Martha and Hal said, "How did you learn that name?"
Yeah. And also, black guy on his Hal, black guy John Stewart on his way back into town meets up with the
Yeah.
Indian lady. They have another weird conversation where they talk about each other's entitled white guys, with a weird subtext that she's treating Hal and John's relationship like they're gay, which is weird. But yeah, he says, "Hey, listen, they told me not to tell you this, but I'm telling you this." And if you're smart, you're like saying, "Of course you're telling him this, because even if you're antagonistic to him, this gives him useful information that builds rapport, builds trust, yada yada yada. Of course you're telling him this. They knew that. That's why they told you." And he couldn't verify anything, which means he has to put on the uniform that you got him, because you handed the uniform and basically said, "Hey, you need to respect your fucking self and, stop looking like a slob." And he put the uniform on, flew to outer space, and went to talk to Sinestro and asked Sinestro, "Hey, what the fuck are manhunters?" And that's the stinger for the next episode. Oh, also the alien said, "Dude, how could you keep that bird going for that long? That's pretty impressive. That's like upper level Green Lantern shit." And he kept the bird going as a construct while in a fight in a van and running on a busy traffic street, and then being tortured by aliens, and then having a genocide downloaded into his brain.
Well, I mean, imagine that. Guys with high willpower can maintain things for long periods of time.
Yeah. But that was a Lanterns episode, and you have thoughts. I could hear them
Yes.
percolating in your brain.
Yes, I have two thoughts. So the first one is going to sound like it's not Lanterns related, but let me walk you through it real quick.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with a friend earlier today, and we were talking about the fucked up nature of media.
Mhm.
And I was laying out that this is essentially, when you boil it down, the fault of brand synergy, trying to both possess a property so that yours is the real version and all that old stuff can be put aside, right?
Mhm.
And not knowing what to do with it. And we
Well,
talked about
I think we could definitely underline that this show is definitely they don't know what to do with it. We
right.
could definitely agree on that.
And we were talking about how streaming shows have nothing going on, and I gave an example of a way to do a streaming show that would 100% work, would be very successful, and they won't do it.
But a streaming show that doesn't have nothing going on, Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher. And Jack Reacher is actually built on the correct frame. This is what I'm about to describe.
Yes.
So I proposed a Punisher series. I said, okay, you're going to have a season-long antagonist, a big bad, right?
Okay.
And Big Bad's going to appear at beginning and end of season,
Okay.
right? But throughout the season, so we're thinking 10 episodes, and you got 8 episodes of filler, basically, right? Rather than filler, what it is that it's episodic crimes, okay? Different criminals doing different big bads, but each crime is somehow tied into the meta crime in a meaningful way.
Right. And
right?
Frank is also building up the resources he needs to go after the season-long antagonist, because sometimes killing a criminal requires some prep work.
And that's the thing, though. Is at the end of season 1, right? It's like, oh, there was a big criminal, a big fish that thinks he got away. Man, he's wrong, right? But each episode is presented like a standalone war journal report of Frank going after a bad guy, right?
Yes.
And it's almost classic television Adventure Town structure. Frank rolls into town, makes a friend, sees a problem, discovers a crime, and solves it in the way that only a Frank can.
Right. Shoots people, yes.
Right. This is a structure that is both serving your meta narrative and is serving your audience on the small scale. We watch an individual episode and we feel satisfied, right?
Mhm.
Uh, that's the basic problem here with Lanterns. Lanterns is trying for a meta arc and world building and all these other things, but they don't have a basic structure for the mystery. What's the mystery? Well, it's kind of a small town mystery, or everyone has secrets. Do you know what those secrets are? No, not really. Okay, so it's a cop story. Are the Lanterns going to be super cops? Well, no, they're going to just kind of pal around and ask questions. Why? Because that's what you do, right? When you're a cop. It's like, no. But we're trying to do it like they do in True Detective. Yeah, where they're actual cops, and as actual cops, detectives have to do certain procedures. There's a process.
There's
Did you
in
not?
fact a term for those kind of shows called procedurals,
Right.
where the drama comes from the procedure.
So basically, what we actually have is more like the Game of Thrones structure. You have theoretically 10 episodes, probably less, right? And you can and after a season or two, you can boil down to exact structure what episodes you need to watch. 1, 5, 10, possibly episode 8. Or episode 9. You actually don't need to watch the intervening episodes because they are all filler and they're all about secondary plots you don't care about. They're not even about secondary plots building up to becoming a main plot, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that all tracks.
so that brings us to the other point, okay? Because you've opened a wellspring, Larry. You opened up the Joe. If you were line editing this, how would you edit this? I think a lot of the problems of Lantern structurally is fixed with one change. It's stupid change, but it's a single change that
Okay.
alters things up.
Okay.
So when John Stewart was a kid, Hal Jordan broke faith. He committed a big boy crime, kind of, in the annals of the Guardians.
I mean,
He
it's
went
like it's like a noir cop thing where a cop
right.
does something that's wrong, but the police can't shut the cop down for
He right,
reasons.
right. He went on TV in uniform and said, I'm Green Lantern." Right now, you have humanity. Humanity is cynical and whatnot. They think it's a gaffe if they even believed it, right? But when Hal Jordan shows up to teach John Stewart, what's the big change? Why are we in civvies? Why don't we have the uniform? All these things that John Stewart really wants because he thinks I'm going to go be a super cop. And Hal Jordan's like, actually, policy is we're not supposed to reveal ourselves. What? Yeah, we're supposed to be secret. But why? Because aliens have gotten very good at hiding, and criminals don't want to be found, right?
I mean,
So,
that would have helped. That certainly
right.
would have helped.
But here's the thing. This is why I mention it. It also creates a interesting parallel to modern events that people are talking about that would serve this show rather than undermine it, right? John Stewart is a former soldier. Soldiers wear uniforms,
Mhm.
right? Even if they're in stealth, they wear uniforms, dog tags. You
Yeah.
only don't have identification when you are doing black bag underhanded shit,
When
right?
the Geneva doesn't protect you anymore.
Right. And those are technically crimes. And John Stewart was not a crime doer, right?
Mhm.
What Hal Jordan is describing is cops not wearing badges. The thin green line going world to world enforcing their law off the book without telling anyone.
Which is a good sort of parallel to the Manhunters if you're using Manhunters as your central plot element.
Right. And this is a thing that troubles John Stewart. He understands the case is important. He understands that the investigation is important, but he's not comfortable with the idea that not only is Hal Jordan going around disguised, doing, cop stuff, right? But he's actively misleading local law enforcement. And because of the unilateral nature of the Lantern's freedom of movement, because the Guardians are light years away, he is literally a cop playing by his own rules with no oversight.
Yes.
And you play up that Jon Stewart is deeply concerned about the potential abuses of what if a lantern ever went rogue, right?
I
And
mean,
that's the mechanism you use to introduce Sinestro.
yeah.
Because Sinestro
Also,
is everything that the Lantern Corps was afraid of.
also, if you do things a little bit more radically, you make the central mystery something that's interesting.
Right.
A bunch of aliens are mad about another bunch of aliens that are all hiding this set of Nebraska towns.
Right. But what this translates into and why this helps, why this is such a key idea, we have to be hidden, is because from Hal Jordan's perspective, the thing is he's like, look, man, you do got to think of it like cops. Once the blue red and white show up, or the red and blue show up, everybody didn't see nothing. Nobody wants to talk to you, and all of the roaches scatter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Once you pull out the power ring, once you go SWAT team, it's warfare. There's no pulling back.
Yeah.
Right? So from his perspective, it's like, look, we start with reconnaissance. It's undercover. We're just dudes in town checking things out. Maybe get a pie. It can be fun even. You can have fun doing this, John. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that by keeping on the down low, they can investigate carefully. They can put together what the aliens are doing to find the bad aliens before, because sometimes there are good aliens who just want to be left the fuck alone, right?
And
then
they should have ripped off more Men in Black for this.
Right, and it gives you a pretext for a threat. Because remember, what was the start of this proposal? Hal Jordan went on TV and revealed himself. So Hal Jordan thinks that he's just merging in with the mass of humanity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point at the end of the first episode, instead of a dead Hal Jordan, you have somebody on a phone who you can't see. This dark of night, rain slick street, and somebody literally uses a literal payphone. Like, wait a minute, a payphone in a small town in the middle of nowhere? That's novel, right? They drop a dime, they dial some digits, they call somebody, and they're like, the Green Lanterns are here. I saw Hal Jordan on the street. Right? So now you have a evil, unknown criminal conspiracy of aliens that our good guys are looking for, while having internal beef that are on the hunt for them. And you've ratcheted the tension just a little bit. Because everything that you've been told about what's causing their disparity is that aliens who are trying to do a bad are subtle, careful, and have dangerously frightening technology that we are not equipped to handle, right? And you're not showing this to the audience. You're inferring it, so the audience is going to build up in their minds how wacky this could get, and we're like, oh man, I hope the Green Lanterns can save us.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about some of the stupid things Damon Lindelof said, but he said especially stupid was, we wanted to make things different and not fall into tropes by having Hal be a doesn't play by the book, older cop, and Jon Stewart
that thing he's doing?
And Jon Stewart being this tight, plays it by the rules cop, and I'm like saying, oh, so you mean something that's been done in the cop procedural genre since forever? It's in fact one of the oldest things in the cop procedural genre. It's part of the tension between Holmes and Watson.
Well, here's the thing, because it's you're not talking about two different problems in writing yet again. The first is, there's a colloquial, there's a truism that's not true, right? There are people that say you should never use the word said, because said is almost invisible, right? And you get a certain sameness of text when you read it. So it's like, he said, she said, they said, it was said, right? So there's a multitude of stand-in words they want you to use. replied, ejaculated,
Well,
expounded, exploded.
hold up. Ejaculated?
A
That's
very
a, that's,
old, very
that's
old usage, but yes, they used to use ejaculated for sudden loud speaking. Um,
huh.
what my point is that they have all these other words for how to respond to someone, but then the same truism that says don't use said, they often follow it up by don't use those loan words. Right? Don't use those stand-ins because those are clunky, right? So what you get for young writers is a situation where they're so busy trying to subvert the practical necessity of a past tense descriptor that they overwork their work. They invent things and situations so that they can have a character not have to say said, right? And say
Hmm?
something else. And it ends up making your work sound dumb,
Yes.
right? But the other problem, same deal, is you hear people giving the truism, well, don't use tropes. Tropes are lazy. Tropes are conventional language, right? Because what they actually mean is that you shouldn't abuse tropes, but that's a complicated descriptor, right? They
Well, I
don't,
mean, there are certain tropes that are overused, like the busted out hero who's
right,
old and bitter. That's used a lot, but
right.
people think it's not.
But here's the thing. Lanterns obviously is using it poorly with Hal Jordan. But then if we go back a couple of years and look at the movie Taken, right? Liam Neeson was playing a old and busted and a little bit bitter
Well, I mean, he wasn't he
spy.
wasn't he wasn't busted, but
He
he was divorced.
he
His
was
family life wasn't good.
he was kind of fed up with bullshit.
Well,
But
yeah.
they gave him a contrast. They gave him a tiny thing. He loves his daughter. He'll put up with his wife's bullshit and her soy boy husband as much as he has to, as long as he gets to get that time with his daughter. Right? And that propels the entire story. That tiny contrast makes the trope not bad. Because now we're gonna see Bust Dad come out of his fucking bust funk and bust a guy's face. It worked in Mr. Nobody. It worked in John Wick. We love that fucking trope of the dude that is over the hill proving he still got it by kicking ass.
Well, no, not over the hill. Busted out. Someone like
Right,
Jake Skywalker.
right.
The Jake
But
Skywalker doesn't work because
but
even the guy in Nobody, the guy in John Wick,
right,
they were just dudes.
yeah,
They didn't want to get back into the old life,
right.
but it happened.
But with that in mind, you get people that are so busy saying don't use tropes that they instead try to subvert every trope. We're going to make a non-trope thing. You also see this in young writers when it comes to the idea of tenses, right? You want to use active voice. Past tense voice is seen as passive and therefore bad, right? But third person past tense is the most common writing structure on earth for a reason, because it gives you the ability from an omnipresent narrator to say it was said, it was done, it happened, right?
Hmm?
But you'll see it, young writer after young writer. Well, I'm going to use second person, third tense, fifth phase, under the light of the full moon, right? I bring this up because what happens is the more you try to rework the material to not violate your internal law that you're going to use the shared language of the consumer, right? The more weight is put on you to do your job well. If you do your job badly, you've just made a worse product because you didn't use the obvious language in front of you, right? And that's what we have here. It's like, well, we're not going to do a classic buddy cop because
Well,
that's been done. We're not.
What they're saying is they're doing the Felix and Oscar, but as cops,
Right,
because it's not a common trope, even though it is one of the most common tropes in policing
right,
as a genre of storytelling. It's a thing that somebody is saying to sound smart, but it actually makes them sound even stupider.
right. And it doesn't hold up to the scrutiny.
No. But there's a show I've been watching. I haven't talked really a bit about on our show,
Mm-hmm.
but that's going to change now because I've seen 4 episodes of it, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. But the Rick and Morty spinoff with President Curtis.
It has been mentioned. I feel no drive to see it. So if you're going to tell me that it's surprisingly good, I'm going to be interested.
It's not surprisingly good, but it's less tedious than Rick and Morty.
Mm.
So that's something. So we're gonna paint a picture for you, right? You got President Curtis, who had been a popular supporting character in the Rick and Morty, and this is about
All right.
him.
All right. Let's put a nail in that real quick. Nobody cares about President Curtis. He's not a popular character. People like President Keith David because Keith David is a popular character.
I mean, that is a joke they literally do in the first episode of the show.
Right.
The show is 100% willing to acknowledge this fact. So he has a team, which has expanded over 4 episodes. And the team and he go out and they have adventures. So there's President Curtis, who is smart, debonair. He's Keith David, but a slightly better put together physically Keith David, because Keith is an actor who's lived a little hard here and there. He's got his chief of staff, who's a cyborg, and she's kind of a ratchety millennial. His personal Secret Service guy is a half leprechaun. So that's the first thing that I've been thinking about all day today. Why would they make him a half leprechaun?
Because spaz humor.
Well, no. Do you understand the problem with a leprechaun?
I mean, if we're using actual leprechauns, they're about the size of 10-year-old children.
No, that's not the problem.
Okay.
Leprechauns are not native to Irish folklore.
Really? They're a transplant.
They were created by English colonizers to make fun of the Irish folklore. So
interesting.
A show being made in that little cesspool that is Rick and Morty writers' room, it's an interesting choice.
I mean, it's not.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that they're making a stupid choice that isn't edgy.
Here's the thing. Let's take a step back. We're going to talk about folklore for just a second. I did not know that factoid you just dropped. Okay.
That was actually a major plot point in American Gods, the TV show, and American Gods, the book.
Yeah, well, I stopped halfway through American Gods because American Gods is shit. And I do mean the book. I didn't even pick up the show. Fuck that noise. I love you, Ian McShane. I know you like being Odin. Fuck that show. But here's the thing. When I was younger, I got exposed to some mythology. A book came across my mom's desk that described that actual leprechauns in the original presentation are sort of mean-spirited, more like Rumpelstiltskin, and are about the size of a young boy,
yes.
Right? But this was transformed during the Victoriana into one of the flower fairies, and eventually reached its apotheosis with, of all things, that's forever evergreen piece of shit, the Disney classic Darby O'Gill and the Little People, the most offensively Irish film ever made. The thing is, right, is that it goes without saying, I absolutely believe that the people who made this Rick and Morty episode do not know about Gaelic mythology.
This is a Rick and Morty show. This
Right,
is a main character of the show.
But I'm saying they don't know about Gaelic mythology. They don't care to find out, and they're not going to. If we were to ask them, hey, what's a leprechaun? Like, what do you know about actual leprechauns? They would say, oh, well, they're like funny little guys in green with a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. Ha 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 ha. And they instantly, their minds go to fucking Lucky on the Lucky Charms box. The reason they did it isn't because they were trying to make some kind of statement, and it's not even that they were trying to make some kind of lazy joke. It's that they honestly are too ignorant to know what they're fucking up, which means that they're double fucking it.
Yeah. And now they have introduced a fourth member of the team, Chomps. Now, Chomps was a normal Secret Service agent who got brought in as a backup for the half leprechaun.
Okay.
And then he and the president had a accident involving some werewolves, and Chomps became a werewolf, who the president, using bullshit technology that they have in that show, he gained the ability to control his werewolfism so he could be a werewolf for good, not for evil.
Okay.
So that's the team. So the first episode of the show was all about a conspiracy with the CIA to hide the secret of the moon baby, which the White House had secret control over. Now I know what you're going to ask. What's the moon baby? Well, apparently, when they launched the first mission to the moon, they had bred a special baby to become the vanguard of the human settlement of the moon. And they had sent up other babies up there initially to make the settlement bigger, but the initial moon baby just started eating those other babies, becoming a moon man.
So, Larry, I am not the critical drinker, and we do not have a hard cut to me pouring alcohol, but I want you to understand that I keep something drinking related, usually next to my desks, just in case. So I have this mostly gone 1 gallon of Arizona iced tea.
Right.
I didn't even get the Arizona iced tea I wanted. I ended up with more of this iced tea raspberry flavor, which I don't
It's kind of
actually
gross.
like.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah. But as you described the moon baby, I have opened it and I have poured it and I am going to drink it. And I am sorely tempted to drink from the bottle because this is as close as I'm going to get to alcohol.
You're visualizing it's an alcoholic iced tea now to make you feel better.
Yeah, it's like this would be so much better if I could be drunk, and I can't be drunk, so I'm going to drink this thing I hate to try and make this taste better in my brain.
So the second episode involves supernatural prisoners escaping from the United States Supermax facility for supernatural prisoners. And again, this exists in the same universe as Rick and Morty. The Supermax is in the Bermuda Triangle.
Of course.
And the only way for them to get into the prison was to hitch a ride with Amelia Earhart. Of course, the leprechaun who always gets into fights gets brought into the prison to.
So he's a violent, drunken Irish stereotype in addition to being an Irish stereotype.
He actually doesn't drink. He's just violent.
Oh, good. We don't even have the excuse of drunkenness. Good job.
He fights various monsters in there. Finds a Cthulhu-like monster to become his friend in the cell block. And then they learn that the guy running the prison wants to murder all the monsters for the good of humanity.
Of course.
But he wants to murder the monsters to create the thing from Monsters, Inc., where he could use the monsters' power to create batteries. I know what you're thinking, Joe. This has got to be the worst that this show could do. Actually, you're not thinking that. You're thinking, how is the next episode going to be worse?
I am actually thinking three things. One, how can the next episode be worse? Two, this sounds like a plot significantly bullshit that Rick would stop it.
Yes.
And third, I currently don't have a job.
I mean, you kind of have a job.
No, I'm saying I'm currently looking for work, right?
Mhm.
I'm trying to get paid in my vocation. Some motherfucker got paid to write this.
It's true. It's true. So the third episode, President Curtis is going to Illinois, where his wife, the mayor of Chicago, has been elected governor of Illinois. Having been from Illinois, this is one of the least believable things that has happened in this show. Only one thing less believable is coming up. We'll get to that in a minute. That's in the next episode. The cyborg and the Irish murder monster have to go to retraining in West Wing world, where they have androids that are supposed to train you on how to do proper behavior. But the cyborg lady screws that up by hacking into the androids because her score keeps going down.
Was this made by someone with fucking Tourette's?
But just wait. The B plot is not the most offensive plot. The A plot, the president's wife, the governor of Illinois, is somebody who focuses a lot on rehabilitating monsters. One of her central points of rehabilitation is she made the Candyman not a monster anymore. And the Candyman is being used as part of a sustainable green energy program to power the 20% of the power usage in the city of Chicago.
How?
Well, it involves a robot saying the Candyman phrase, and then the axe comes out, and it powers a turbine.
All right, I want to dig into this for a minute because this is fucking special. Okay. For viewers who don't know, or may have only seen that Jordan Peele abomination, okay, Candyman is actually a film.
Well, a series of films.
Derived. No, we're only talking about the first one because that's the only one that really fucking counts. The other ones are bullshit somebody made up. Is a film based on a short story by Clive Barker, the same guy that did Hellraiser. Okay? Clive Barker is renowned for coupling sexual imagery, taboos, unpleasant biases, and horror into complicated narratives. Okay, one of his stories that I absolutely love is called Midnight Meat Train, and people swear up and down that it has unpleasant implications about Jews, and I'm like, no, it's about ritually sacrificing commuters to eldritch abominations that live under New York. Don't you fucking read?
Okay.
So with that in mind, what is Candyman about?
It's about a sex killer who died horribly and became a ghoul that haunts the mirrors.
No, that was actually never it.
Okay.
The Candyman was either an outright freedman, like he was from the North and freed, or a freed slave who was the house slave because he was educated, right? Who was a successful artist. And a young woman, a young white woman, decided to be his model and led to a raucously inappropriate affair in a time period when that shit was not acceptable in the post-war Reconstruction South.
Right.
So he was maimed. They cut off his hand. They tortured him before they burned him alive. And part of the torture was to cover his body in honey and let the bees sting the ever-loving shit out of him.
Yes.
right?
I remember the bees part.
Under the proclamation, sweets for the sweet. Okay? And this act of racial violence was so abominable that it created a egregore of the community's suppressed racial disharmony called the Candyman that became urban legend for the superstitious, not my words, I'm just saying this is how it's presented, and ignorant Native American, or not Native American, African American population of former slaves. Right? Because one of the things that has become very interesting about Candyman in its study as a fictional piece, right, is that it is a story being written by a white Englishman about racial dichotomies and presumptions, right, in which the main character, a woman, a white woman who ends up becoming the primary victim and obsession of the spirit that she has summoned, right,
Mm.
has all of the problems of well-meaning, left-leaning academias coming into impoverished inner urban African American communities, right?
Mm.
She's not of the community, but she thinks she can study the community like it's some kind of insect colony in a bell jar, right? And derive wise words about their suffering without ever actually engaging them. And the one time that she showed the unseemly underbelly of that setting, right? She promptly turns around, uses her actual white privilege in the sense that she's white and therefore believed, to get the dudes thrown in jail because the cops who don't give a shit about the poor black people in Cabrini Green totally give a shit about some upper class white academic getting her shit beat in.
Yeah.
Right? This is what Candyman is made of, is questions about our surfeit of racial guilt, our biases, our taboos about sexual interactions between races. Clive Barker, whether I like the man as a person or not, has never shied away from let's talk about serious shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's assess this in regards to the President Curtis TV show. There is an egregore in Chicago made up of the racial hatreds of your shitty fucking city.
Also, the mayor is black. This is important for the story.
Right. And rather than deal with it, rather than heal that wound,
well, no, she does.
Solution,
she does. That's why Candyman is supplying power to the city.
No, because if the problem was healed, the Candyman wouldn't exist. Okay.
Well, I mean, he's a person. He's just a non-living person.
No, he's a construct made out of hatred.
Right, but in the universe of Rick and Morty and President Curtis, that makes you a person.
Right, but instead of dealing with his hatred, because he continues to exist, right, what we have instead done is we have commodified his hatred for the benefit of people who need electricity. Yes. You can stand in this corner and you can hate, and you can be our postmodern slave to make us electricity.
I mean, that part is a little gross. I'll agree with you there. That's a tad gross. A ghost of a dead slave, literally becoming a slave. Yes, totally gross. I agree.
And I'm not bringing this up because so brave that they thought of it. Like, no, the people who wrote this garbage did not think about it when they fucking wrote it. You know what they did think? Hey, we need a monster. Who knows a good pop culture reference? Hey, I like that Candyman. That movie was great. Let's do that.
Hey,
yeah,
also
Candyman will be fun.
Also, it's set in Chicago.
Right.
So it fits the story. And one of the things that was one of the hallmarks of the mayor's mayorship was making Candyman a reformed monster.
Well, because angry black men need to be reformed so they can be socially acceptable. Exactly. By the way, let's put the cherry on top. Reformed by black Uncle Tom turncoats who have already assimilated.
I mean, that's a strange term for black women, but it's a good term because
sorry,
black women do happen to dominate in positions of power in the government.
I'm not actually familiar with the term black loon.
No, black women.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that within the context of what's being done, right? We have the ghost. I'm calling it an Idrigor because it's a cultural construct, but you're using ghost. We're going to use ghost conventionally. We have the ghost of Black Rage being essentially marginalized, suppressed, and repurposed, right, by a person who has benefited from the fruits of the struggle for ethnic recognition, right? So she got hers. Fuck them. Fuck that ghost.
No, the ghost is actually like her best friend and implied to be a boyfriend.
Oh, okay. So what we as part of the process of reforming our angry black men, we need to use our sexual wiles to convert them.
I mean, yeah.
Like, this is disgusting on every fucking level, Larry.
Well, it is. But now here we're gonna lay another level of grossness onto this episode.
Oh boy!
So President Curtis is there to support his ex-wife, but she says, "Listen, I need you to support me by being in a marginal position because otherwise, it's going to be, hey, it's the wife of the president, it's the ex-wife of the president, who used to be governor."
Wait. The black mayor of Chicago, who is banging the violent black ghost,
also the governor-elect of Illinois,
is being and is repurposing that ghost to be her slave as well as houseboy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is marginalizing a successful black man, the president of the United States, so that she can be important. So we are literally marginalizing one man for another man, and the violent man because he fucked good.
Yes, absolutely. And
you know what? They did it. Mission accomplished, guys. You found a way to be more vile than the Rick and Morty dragon episode with the implications of incest.
And we haven't even gotten all the way into this episode yet. There's more. So there's some former werewolf gang members that have been hired in who all are Hispanic because they're working at a banquet. So of course they're Hispanic. They're wait staff. That's not racist at all. And the president realizes that the werewolves are up to no good.
I mean, it shouldn't be racist, but it kind of is within the context of how fucking racist this episode decided to be.
And the werewolves are holding all of the rich and elite people in Chicago hostage because they're at the governor-elect's party so that they can get, more social benefits for werewolves.
We need more food stamps, man.
And so the president, and Chomps, they got to fight the werewolves to save the people.
I spoke to our friend Gilly, the delightful little gay man, about my character idea. I gave him the rundown. I mentioned to him what I had mentioned to you. And in the back of my mind, even though I totally am down with the joke being made, a little voice in the back of my head said, am I actually being kind of racist? Because even though I'm talking about making an Imperial German vampire from the 16th century who doesn't give a shit about ethnopolitics but fucking hates the poor is funny, right? At the same time, it's like, yeah, his boss is a Jew. That is kind of touchy ground. Am I taking the joke too far? Right? And the answer
Well-
is no, because I have that voice in the back of my head asking me if I've gone too far. I clearly know when to stop, because holy fucking shit.
All right. So now we're going to go into...
This is why improv rules don't work. None of that yes and bullshit.
Now we're going to go into the next episode where they're exploring the secret presidential archives, and they discover the receipt for the Louisiana Purchase.
I mean, that could actually almost be funny. What is the twist that's going to make this not okay?
Well, they go to a cave listed on the receipt where there's a statue of Napoleon saying, "You broke the terms for our deal, so per the ancient clause of such and such, we're taking back the Louisiana Purchase." There's a Rube Goldberg device that alerts Josephine, who's actually an immortal cyborg. There's a bunch of Napoleonic cyborgs coming to retake a large hunk of America. So President Curtis and the gang have to ally with the vampires of New Orleans to defeat Napoleon. It also involves getting Napoleon's penis as a payment because of cyborg Josephine. But the vampires double-cross President Curtis because Thomas Jefferson screwed the vampires and promised them the ability to have free reign throughout the whole Louisiana Purchase.
I just want to mention that once upon a time, the Sci-Fi Channel passed on a show called The Amazing Screw-On Head,
Yes.
starring David Hyde Pierce, with art by Mike Mignola.
Really good art.
I just want to be clear. They passed on that so that decades later we could get this.
And there becomes other vampires that decide to help. And so President Curtis and his gang fight the vampires. Also, Chomps has to get an upgrade to his magical collar to make him even better at being a good guy werewolf. He gets horribly injured. He dies technically, but he uses his werewolf powers to not die and then shoot the leader of the vampires. Because he says, this is important for anybody who plays Vampire the Masquerade, a crucifix can be shot from a crossbow. And he said to President Curtis, "I'm surprised you didn't use that earlier in the battle." And I'm like, that's a good point, Chomps. That's a good point. And yeah, that's this show. And first of all, the Rick and Morty premise is bad in Rick and Morty. It was at least interesting for 2 seasons, and we're at season 10 now. Is that right?
I want to say 8, but yeah.
Way too many seasons.
We are well past the point where the joke is not funny anymore.
Yes. And we've not reached the point where it's gone so far that the joke becomes funny again.
Right.
And President Curtis is that same joke, but without any of the interesting elements of the show. The relationship of the Rick, the drunken genius who doesn't need anybody, but who secretly needs his grandson. And Beth, who's codependent with her father, and her husband, who's a boob. And also her clone sister of herself. And Summer, who's trying to figure out how to become her own person, and all of this miasma. You know, those are the elements of the Rick and Morty show that are, interesting to watch, that make you have emotions about the characters. This is all kind of dumb.
Well, that's going to bring us back around to where you started this bit, because having said that people like this because they like Keith David, I want to mention that as someone who likes Keith David, because Gargoyle, Spawn, They Live, a succession of things he's been in.
He's done a lot of great things.
I think Keith David is also burning his cultural cachet at both ends right now.
Yes.
Because he's doing this, and I hate it, and I haven't seen one still of it. Okay.
He's also in Has Been Hotel.
He's also in Has Been Hotel playing an obnoxious gay cat thing.
No.
And-
He's bisexual because all the
Fuck
demons
that.
are bisexual.
No.
All the demons are bisexual.
No. Vivian Madrano can suck my asshole. Okay? All of her characters are gay. Okay?
Look. From
she
the
can
Hollywood perspective, is they're bi because making them bi means the writers can do whatever they want later. But they're
Right.
presented as gay. That's the technical bullshit literary term I'm going to use. They're gay coded.
Okay,
They're
look.
gay
I want to point out, it's 1 hour 10 minutes in. I have already said fuck in this podcast. I am going to use a big boy word. Okay?
Okay.
I have gay friends. And when I say I have gay friends, I mean no. I was at the wedding for my couple of gay buddies who got married, and I knew them when they were in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I still they help me go shopping. I still play games with them. They're in King of the Vigil. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I have had multiple gay friends for years. I got a comic book from a gay friend at one of my mom's first jobs in Washington State when I was like 7. Okay? I got no problem with the gay. Okay? For some reason, okay, lefty, extremist, weirdo, sexy, whatever their fucking problems are, the people behind Has Been Hotel and their friends seem to think that bisexual, that thing that I am, translates to fag!
Well, I mean, look. They don't believe you're real.
Right. I'm not real. And clearly, if we are real, because Hollywood needs us to be non-committal so they can do whatever they want, we'll just have them be queer-coded. What's queer-coded? It means I act like a fag. Yeah, I don't hang out with fags. Okay?
I mean, if you know anything about gay culture, there was a time when gay people would call themselves fag unironically.
Oh, sure. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I am a strong adherent of a scene from the Boondock Saints. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's Willem Dafoe being Willem Dafoe playing an incredibly gay character. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in a bad mood, he got himself an Asian little twink to amuse himself when he gets the call to come to a crime scene, and the twink is trying to snuggle up to him, and he's trying to indicate to this person, not, I'm on the phone, and eventually he slaps the shit out of them, and they are horrified. And after he hangs up, he says, "What the fuck are you doing?" And the little gay guy says, "I just wanted to cuddle." And Willem Dafoe gives him a solid minute of staring and says, "What a fag," before he leaves, because they are still men, and men do not generally cuddle. Okay?
I mean, cuddling's a good time.
I mean, yes, it's a joke. But my point is, okay, is that this idea that the second you come out or that you adopt a lifestyle, you must become the most obnoxious fucking caricature of that lifestyle because it defines your personality to all ends and extremes, and that everybody has some rainbow of fucking appearances and different sub-genres is the biggest bunch of bullshit.
No, Joe. None of those characters have personalities. That's unfair.
To people with personalities, yes.
Well, no, I mean to the writers, they don't know what personality means. But yeah, that's a whole thing. And Keith David is not as good for that part as the original actor from the pilot.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Okay, is I like Keith David. I think Keith David has the chops to play most things. Okay. But I am not interested in Keith David being will they or won't they with a toxic gay spider who's a prostitute that does drugs. More importantly, I am not interested in Keith David being supernaturally enslaved to a term I learned from this fucking show and had to look up, an arrow ace cherry red pimp with fucking antlers, because everybody thinks that Angel Dust and fucking Alastair should bunk uglies. Not only is Has Been Hotel fucking cancer, but it is bad for every single actor involved in it, including Keith David. Okay? I long for the days of Saints Row 3 when Keith David was in the expansion with the aliens, right? And got to revisit his character from Saints Row 2 as the president being a supervillain with a cape. That was funny. That was Keith David being peak Keith David. I long for the days of Tales from the Hood when Keith David was an evil fucking funeral car driver. Okay,
No, he was funeral home director, but yes,
funeral director. But I miss the days when Keith David, fucking knew what the fuck he was doing. Whoever the fuck this person is, it's not Keith David. And they're thinking about bringing back gargoyles, and I was excited for half a minute because I thought, hey, Keith David's still alive.
Yeah.
But now I'm really fucking worried about it when you think about it.
So, Joe, we got about, let me look at the clock here.
Oh, we got like 45 minutes. We're good.
Well, yeah, we got 45 minutes, and I want to open up something to really get your blood angry. We're going to talk some more about Dark Sun.
Okay.
So,
and by the way, while we're at it, I just want to point out, obviously we can stop whenever, but technically, because we started so early, we can run longer if we need to. If you have more shit, we can do. We're not restricted.
We can. But yeah. So, I don't recall if we talked about Dark Sun last time.
A little bit in passing, but if you've got more,
I do.
We can dig deeper.
So, was at my Saturday gaming group with one of our players is a regular guy with D&D Adventure League. So, as you know, D&D Adventure League gets early releases of information.
Okay.
So, there's a lake in Athos.
I mean, I do seem to recall there was a single body of water somewhere.
A lake that's bigger than the Silt Sea and all the surrounding deserts that we would typically think of as Athos.
That's not a fucking lake. That's an ocean. That's a sea.
Well, it's inland, so it's an inland sea.
Yeah, but this violates the logic of Dark Sun, not because of the existence of water, but because if that exists, like that will break the power of the Sorcerer Kings.
Joe, it's much worse than that. 2/3 of the planet is green.
It's fucking V5 all over again. They're progressing the plot when you don't progress this plot. You set up the fucking sandbox. Why are you trying to move the plot forward in the sandbox? It's not a fucking meta plot. God damn it.
Also, this is unrelated to the other stuff they're doing that's also ruining the setting of Athos. This is a new form of damage because we can argue, and we're going to talk a little more about slavery, and while slavery is essential to a Dark Sun. But the environment not being, heavy metal bullshit is the most essential violation of Dark Sun. If you can go to a place that's not a horrible desert, why the fuck aren't you? Like, if the Dragon Kings all live in like this one little region that's fucked up, people will just leave. There may not be a lot of water in the desert, but people will just leave because if they have any idea that anywhere else there's something, they will fucking go there.
Fuck you, Furiosa. You ruined Dark Sun, you cunt.
The only way to salvage this, in my mind, would be, all the green stuff. The Thri-Kreen Psionicis restored most of the planet, and they just eat anybody who shows up.
Well, remember, there are jungles on Athos. But you don't go to those jungles because the fucking halflings will eat you.
Or the Thri-Kreen. Thri-Kreen are also in some of the jungles.
But no, this is the fault of Furiosa.
Uh-huh.
This is Mad Max's fault. Do you remember the beginning of Furiosa?
You mean Fury Road or Furiosa? Because I remember
Furiosa, the second one, not Fury Road.
Furiosa, which was terrible. Yes, I remember that.
Right. So you remember that they were in the green place.
Yes,
Do you remember the giant fucking redwoods in the green place?
I do. I do.
Which when you think about it, you'd be able to see from miles around in every fucking direction.
Go on your rant for a little bit. I mean, back in two.
Okay. I mean, literally back, which means I might have to repeat this. But my point is, in Furiosa, there was a green place, and so when raiders showed up to raid it, they looked wildly out of place because they're all, desert barbarians with bones and leather in this green place. And they were attacking a community of idyllic farmers and settlers in this green place. And that's what they want. They want to remove slavery, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, to instead have colonial narratives. Because anyone watching this, even remotely familiar with Dark Sun, knows exactly what's going to happen. The Sorcerer Kings are going to want to reclaim the inhabitable portions of Athos with aggressive warfare. Fuck this reprint. um the thing is that Athos's destruction was not even just the planet. It's not just the abuses of the Sorcerer Kings using magic badly. The gods abandoned the world. The actual sun is dying. The gods burned the planet, not the Sorcerer Kings. If 2/3 of the green returns to Athos, that infers that the gods have forgiven the Athasians for their crimes. And Athos was supposed to be the most blessed world in the D&D universe. Their punishment is eternal.
And also, he was ruined by the hobbits.
Right.
That is one of the more important things.
While you were gone, how much of that did you hear, by the way?
I had to deal with family things, so you give me a summary?
In super brief, the reason I say that it's Furiosa is because if you recall from the very beginning of Furiosa, you have the community of people that are actually like farming and rearing and surviving in the green place, and they get raided by Thor's leather-clad barbarians who look wildly out of place because they're from a desert environment in this weirdly specific redwood forest, right? And it occurs to me that that's what this is. This is that scene writ large because they want to replace the slavery narrative with colonial narratives. Because the Sorcerer Kings will try to retake the green areas of Athos for themselves, which means that the Sorcerer Kings, who are indeed bad guys, are now sending their limitless armies after you, the Defender of the Green, which could be a Dark Sun story, but not a very good one.
If it was a smaller green, then you could make it a good Dark Sun story. But they're making it a bigger one.
Well, what you do, if you must, okay, and I already said you build the sandbox, you let it go. You don't make a meta plot. But what you do is you make it a Star Wars narrative without starships, right? You say there's a rebellion, there's a resistance. Well, there always has been. That makes sense. They have started to find ways to restore Athos in small bursts, in small areas, but these are delicate, fragile ecosystems that must be carefully guarded. And so now the Sorcerer Kings are sending forth their crusaders and their armies to find any enclave of restored Athos and destroy it, because any spark of hope could threaten the entire social weave of their empire, and they won't let it happen. That's how you do a Dark Sun.
That is, in fact, how you do a Dark Sun. And on a related note, did you see the Gold Axe trailer?
Golden Axe is getting a movie or something?
It's getting a something.
I have not.
1 second. All right, let me share here. Just a second. Here we go.
I can't hear it, but I can see it. I mean, I can't hear this, and I already hate this.
Well, I mean, you should, because it's not good animation.
It's not good animation, and it's got the exact personality I was afraid it was going to have, where it's snarky comedy, and Tyrus Flair is going to be a girl boss, hyper badass, while everyone else is kind of incompetent.
Yep.
I can see Axe Battler is just going to be kind of a hyper Chad. Although I appreciate that they have a character from Golden Axe 3. I am not a fan of the fact that they're apparently going to make the Catman kind of gay.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, please make Gennedy's Conan series destroy this with fire and brimstone.
Yeah. And
Because I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for Gennedy's Conan. That looks good.
This does not.
No, this looks aggravating. This looks like another in the continuing line of humiliation rituals that Golden Axe has gone through.
Yeah. So, what's your connection to the Golden Axe?
All right, so to understand that, you have to start with my folks. My folks used to play Golden Axe in the coin op and the arcade.
Nice.
All right, and that was Golden Axe 1. So 2-player Golden Axe. My mom and my dad, who were not video game people. A couple of years later, I had a Sega Genesis. They got me Golden Axe 2. I played the fuck out of Golden Axe 2. Okay, and in addition to enjoying the sort of 16-bit, 24-bit graphics, right? It has great music. Golden Axe has always had amazing music, and it has this sort of rich, dark sword and sandal aesthetic that they just fucking lead into as hard as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Axe Battler is just Conan. Tyrus Flair is just Red Sonja. Gilnis is a fucking dwarf, but he's a dwarf with a giant axe and no fucks given. Right? Years later, I acquired Golden Axe 3, which shifted to have fight mechanics like Streets of Rage. So there was a blocking system and a grab control system. It's a lot more Twitch based combat, but it's still good, right? And frankly, these are games that they're not necessarily Nintendo hard, but they are unforgiving. You fuck around, you will find out. And I've never had anyone to play multiplayer with them on, right? I have always played them single player, which is not the actual intended experience. So playing a game built for multiplayer, single player is hard mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a Golden Axe Beast Rider game for next gen consoles that I missed, but apparently it did really, really poorly. Okay, and was not made very well. But some time ago, because I actually have it, it's on my Steam. They can't take it away from me because I associated it with my account. There was a game called Golden Axed. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you weren't supposed to get this. They actually got bitched at by the creators of it. So the owners of Golden Axe, I forget which company, maybe EA, right? Were going to do a new Golden Axe as a 2.5D brawler, similar to
Okay.
how they had recently done a Gauntlet remake that was pretty nice of
I love
Gauntlet 1.
I love Gauntlet.
Gauntlet's fucking amazing. We should totally play it if you've got it. But the thing is that Golden Axe got the axe and went into the vaults for a time. And then they, without telling anyone, they released it on Steam as Golden Axe, and you basically get to play the first level, right? And the thing is that it's really, really good, right? And I honestly thought that that was where Golden Axe was dead, right? And then you bring up this trailer, and now I want to die inside.
So, have you become aware of the CyberLeak controversy? Joe?
Be with you in a second.
Okay.
No, I am not familiar with the CyberLeak thing.
So, are you familiar with GTA 6?
Yes.
Well, a group of hackers, which the front hacker for this group is a character who goes by the name of Cyberlake, got from a EA server, it looks like from EA employees in EA India, the complete, almost ready to launch GTA 6.
Okay, that's. I mean, I that's cool. That's also not good for the company.
Well, wait. There's more. They have a list of demands, and if their demands are not met, they are going to dump on every torrent site they can the complete GTA 6.
I mean, that's bad. That's there's one thing for piracy to preserve material and piracy when you can't own property.
Well, Joe.
But
Joe,
this is
you
extortion. This is a crime.
Joe, you didn't ask what their number one demand was. Their number one demand is to release GTA 6 on the disc.
I mean, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, and Rockstar and Take-Two Entertainment, I believe, who are the two owners of the GTA franchise, has started suing in numerous courts to force Discord to identify accounts because they are rapidly trying to find out who the hell stole their property. There are detectives all over the world going to random people's houses, trying to find out if they are the ones who have the dead man switch and have stolen the game.
Wow, this is just sending the Pinkertons after people on Magic the Gathering all over again.
Right, but this is a scale because GTA 6 is going to be $100 a pop.
Okay, I'm going to bring up something seemingly completely random. Okay? There's a young woman who made a TikTok-style YouTube short recently arguing that D&D needed to adopt more mechanics from games like Shadowrun because D&D doesn't have enough social conflict mechanics.
Well, number one, which version of Shadowrun?
Right.
And number two, there's a good version of Shadowrun. My recollection is the mechanics were ass in every version of Shadowrun.
Right. But what she's saying is that basically because there's no guidelines for supporting the social pillar in D&D, right?
I mean, there is.
That what we need is more objective mechanics about how to win exchanges, which would basically translate into video gaming up D&D, which I am not a fan of, right? Mm-hmm. And I criticized this. I said basically, look, expand your horizons, read more than just D&D 5. Read older games. Read more games. The secrets to how to do what you're proposing are out there. You don't need to update D&D. And people are lambasting me, as is usually the way this goes, because they don't have reading comprehension for fucking beans, right? A old white man questioned young woman, therefore wrong. Therefore trust WotC, which is fucking retarded,
Mhm.
right? But here's the thing of it, okay? When when I posit this, right? This idea that we don't need social mechanics, and people posit that we do, that we need structures, and we need more regulatory interference, right?
But why though?
What right? They were using Shadowrun as their guideline. What you've just described in real life sounds like a Shadowrun plot, right? Your bunch of Shadowrunners get some digital details from Aztec that could shake the fundament of Central American politics. Oh shit! They're sending private security firms to find your ass. What did you get into? Better go talk to Art Johnson. That's a Shadowrun game.
That is. It's absolutely a Shadowrun game. You could even do that in a Cyberpunk game.
You could. Bunch of edge runners get some Arasaka stuff you really didn't want.
But yeah. And CyberLeak was being paid in cryptocurrency, and there's an allegation because there are multiple accounts claiming to be CyberLeak, saying that he's just basically torched the wallet that all the crypto went into, saying he's just doing it for the love of the game at this point. Other people are saying, well, actually what he did was he took enough crypto to cover his operating expenses and then burnt the wallet. But at the core, the weakness was EA Games outsourced their coding to a country which is known for
Poor internet security.
China.
No, India.
China. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, you're fucked. What the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah, Rockstar got their shit stolen from them, and they have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Also,
by the way, my X is still borked. Hopefully, they will fix that soon. That's why I'm kind of dependent on you to find subjects tonight.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. So, you remember that popular video game Wizards of the Coast had? That Baldur's Gate game that everybody liked?
That a lot of people liked and a lot of people with taste did not. Yes, I'm familiar with that game.
And you remember the effeminate gay vampire character?
Yes, I remember Fagaloon McFangs a lot.
Well, he's getting his backstory redacted because it involves the Gur.
I'm sorry, the what?
The Gur. Because they are, quote, Romany coded.
One, isn't he a fucking elf?
He's an elf vampire, but his background was very tied into the pseudo gypsy people.
Does it actually say he's a Vistani?
No, this is a different pseudo gypsy.
From where? Says whom?
From the realms, because they have everything in the realms.
At what point is trying to protect ethnicities from being offended translate to erasure? When the fuck does that happen?
I got nothing, man.
I had a conversation with somebody earlier because they're younger than me, and they were They were saying dumb things, but they were being a kid saying dumb things, right? And the subject of the Holocaust came up, and I had to point out very delicately to them that it's like, well, yeah, you can say that the Nazis might not have wanted to kill everyone because they certainly had some kind of ethnic hierarchy going on. But in addition to the Jews, they killed the gays, they killed the Roma, they killed the physically disabled, and they took out their political enemies.
Oh, that's not even the best part of the stories of the Holocaust people don't talk about.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you my personal favorite one. So
Okay.
Hitler, because he was a eugenicist, he wanted to
Yep.
kill the cripples. That was one of his first things to do. You know what the Germans did when they started killing the cripples in Nazi Germany? They organized protests. Churches organized protests. And you know what happened next? The Nazis stopped killing cripples until the war got deep into the part where people didn't really have that kind of private political life anymore. So, if people in Germany protested against abuse of the Jews, there's every point of evidence that Hitler might have backed down. That's the thing they don't tell you in a history class.
No, they don't, because they don't want people to remember that the people who got conquered first were the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not bringing this up to talk about that. What I am talking about is like, there's the Roma, there's the Tinkers, there's the Travelers, there's the American Wanderers. They're not all the same social groups.
But
they don't all do the same thing.
There is some ethnogenetic crossover, though, they found.
Sure, but culturally they are pronouncedly different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every time something even nearly says, well, the Roma exists, somebody's like, you can't talk about them! No! And it's like, motherfucker, you're trying to sanitize Bear fucking Simulator!
Well, Bear Rape Simulator, if we want to get technical.
Right, because really, it's not an adventure game. It doesn't really do that, even though it has J.K. Simmons as the villain.
It's twee D&D.
And here's the thing. This is the part I found fun, because this is what my friend and I were talking about. It's bad D&D. It's not bad because it's 5e. It's bad because it's a video gamified bad version of 5e. It has traits and mechanics that don't exist in 5e. Because if they just did 5e, it's not as complete as 3rd edition, which means it doesn't make a good Neverwinter Nights, and it certainly wouldn't have made a very good Baldur's Gate, because the original Baldur's Gate was AD&D 2nd.
Yes. And in my personal opinion, AD&D 2nd actually works better as a video game engine.
It absolutely does. One of the criticisms people have thrown at Gary and Dave's construction, when you boil it down, is that it's basically a video game. Which, when you wonder why then did the various dungeon crawler D&D games and Baldur's Gate work so well, the answer is because they didn't actually do anything to the mechanics of the game. They literally just transposed the extant game system engine into a digital format. What they did was they focused on the fucking story.
Yeah. They just used the existing engine because it just fucking works.
Because it just works. Imagine that.
And also, the edition wars are: 2nd ed is a video game on paper. 3rd ed is a video game on paper. 4th ed, holy shit, that's a video game on paper. 5th ed, that's less a video game on paper. I don't have a mental frame of reference going back before 2nd ed, but I imagine that might have been some of the complaints about the earlier D&D games as well.
Yeah.
Even though video games were barely a thing back then.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is that if you need a context for that, we do in fact have the oldest example, Rogue. Rogue is a D&D alike that very closely simulates a first ed D&D experience.
Okay.
And the fact of the matter is that it is just dungeon crawling. It is a bare scrap of story, and it has minimal graphics because it's just using various ASCII symbols. And that's the thing. It's actually funny because we had a conversation trying to identify the most dangerous and difficult of conversation points. So I'm going to present it to you, Larry. I'm going to let you try and answer the fucking Gordian knot. Which
Okay.
is worse, Baldur's Gate 3 or Dragon Age 3?
Dragon Age 3.
So Transpanic, the Quarian game, is worse than Bear fucking Simulator.
Well, my problem with Dragon Age is the first Dragon Age was a really good game.
Oh god, it was. Origins
one
is amazing.
of the best video games of all time. The sequel was bad.
Yeah.
Because in the annals of video games, the first game is successful. We needed successor to be out in time for Christmas.
We need the successor to be out in time for Christmas, and we need to make this game line more like our other successful game lines. So can we turn Dragon Age into fantasy Mass Effect?
Yeah, all of that is bad. All of that is a recipe for horrible disaster. And then it's like, hey, okay, great. Let's just massively course correct and lean into the existing trends and everything's a terrible slop.
Yeah.
The new Baldur's Gate, it has problems. But you know what isn't a problem? The core fundamental mechanics are still sound. So you're still having a good game experience with the mechanics. It may be a little hinky here and there with how you deploy the mechanics, but that is a fundamental sound part of the game. Not a rushed and overdeveloped piece of garbage. I don't even remember what the story was in the later Dragon Age games. And quite honestly, after the first game, I mean, yes, you could make a sequel in that world, technically, but you didn't need to.
Right.
You could have that wonderful experience and you could just put that away. And every so often pull it off the shelf whenever you want to have that wonderful experience again. Like, did you ever? How many different times did you play Dragon Age Origins?
Here's the thing. It's actually funny. I never beat it. I did get pretty far once, but I consistently would start it and get completely immersed in the opening when it's like directed narrative, and then would fall out when it was a open world game.
Yeah, all the
But
opening
oh man,
narratives,
those
all the
opening sections were great.
Like the one with the dwarf nobleman, where you go to your
No, that's the thing. Spoilers for an old game. If you haven't played it, fuck off. That's the thing. I loved the elf story, where it's like, look, man, I just want to marry my wife. What the fuck do you mean, prima nocta? No, that ain't happening, right?
yes.
That was really good, and I liked the wizard one, where it's like, yes, join the evil cabal. Oh yeah, your mentor. He's trying to fuck you. Oh well, that can't stand, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to the dwarf one. I'm gonna be good dwarf. I'm gonna be best dwarf, right? And here you are, and I'm doing everything right. I'm navigating the guilds. I'm trying to find the best way to balance for the good of the hold. And through it all, my best friend is my buddy. He's supporting me. He's advocating for all my decisions. And then they pull the rug out from under my feet and they tell me that motherfucker right there was the one working against me, and he has succeeded, and I am thrown the fuck out to be a Grey Warden. And I was so pissed, because let me tell you, it is ballsy, especially with dwarves in a fantasy setting, right? To start your game line with a betrayal that you lose in.
Oh yeah.
Like
But
that
it's supposed to
that
make
is a
you.
risk.
It's supposed to make you invest enough to go want to get revenge on that motherfucker.
Which I did, and I'm like, as far as like, I get to go fuck him up, right? And they're like, well, kind of. I'm like, no, I want to go fuck him up. Does that happen?
And that's why Dragon Age is a great game. Baldur's Gate, all we talk about is the bear fucking or that ogre fucking. It's not a great game. It's not a great game.
And that's how you judge TV shows and video games. Is you judge them by the discourse. And speaking of the discourse, have you seen the teasers about Midnight Marvel?
Yes, and I fucking despise it, but carry on.
Well, first, let's talk about the first of the three pieces. The X-Men are vampires. That is incredibly
Again.
lazy. A, they've done it before, but B, it's incredibly lazy.
Yeah. It's the third time they've done it within the last 10 years.
Also, the Fantastic Four are like a Frankenstein monster family.
Yeah.
And I believe that's been done before. And Spider-Man's got like an alien parasite thing.
Venom stand-in, yeah.
And my immediate thought is, this isn't going to be your competition with an Absolute or an Ultimate. This isn't going to be something people are going to go, man, I got to watch me some of this. It's kind of like the thing they did recently with Superman, where they made a Superman medieval side quest universe. Where what if it was a magical fantasy world where Superman landed in? It's kind of like that, but with horror.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about how the Vampire X-Men thing is lazy as hell. What would you do if you were doing something horror themed, but it had to be the X-Men?
Well, I would use it as a platform to redeem by returning to villainy a character that has been grievously abused recently. I want Mr. Sinister back large and in charge and being a scumbag.
Now, you see, I have a better idea for X-Men as a horror thing that'd be a little bit more risky.
Well, Sinister is the starting point, but I was basically going to say labs, mutants, experiments, mutations, and body horror.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have that is more risky and interesting than that?
I Am Legend, but it's the X-Men. Xavier and his students are the last humans, and everybody else on the planet is a mutant.
Okay.
And Magneto is a guy who he uses magnet-based technology to power the Sentinels, and he's using the Sentinels to try to exterminate the mutants. And he's like the main character from I Am Legend, but he's Magneto.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that just makes sense. The problem with the Fantastic Four monsters, John Malin did that in the comic book. It wasn't really that good. I mean, if you're gonna really do that, you go more like old fantasy horror. Ben Grimm's a golem. Sue Storm has been had her body exchanged with an Efreet. Johnny Storm's had his body exchanged with a Jinn. Not entirely sure what we would do for Reed, but we'd have to figure out something with Reed. And Doom's just an evil wizard. You don't really need to change Doom for a horror story.
No, if anything, you can lean into Doom to make a horror story.
And the problem is there's only one horror story to do with Spider-Man. It's body horror. Either Spider-Man turns into a spider or Spider-Man turns into a symbiote. But those are your options to do Spider-Man in horror. which is why you should do
Not
Spider-Man.
not true, actually.
Well, what would your third option be?
The third option, we actually saw it, was back in the 90s era cartoon. You do Spider-Man as a template for other people's horrific experiences. Spidey is a superhero, sure, but he's basically normal, right? But much like how Captain America has become the watershed of every super soldier program, right? Interacting with Spider-Man's technology, Spider-Man's origins, becomes the watershed for horrific transformations. So Michael Morbius, the Lizard,
Dr. Octopus.
Dr. Octopus. There's plenty of ways to take those classic characters and re-envision them in a much more viscerally horrifying way. And you can even do it with Peter being Peter and not even doing Spider-Man, right?
So in other words,
Here's a fun one to think about. When was the last time the Jackal was a believably nasty antagonist?
the 90s, kinda.
Right, but he's so often just like there's another clone. It's another clone. What if instead you have a story called Spider-Man that starts with Miles Warren, a scientist, cloning Spider-Man, and the Spider-Man we follow is actually Ben Reilly, Spider clone, trying to understand what's going on in his world and his strange powers. And oh, by the way, Warren has a menagerie of horrific supervillains that he has created and is studying. You can even tie it into the government and make him a government researcher, which means he's making monsters for the government.
Mm-hmm. But
and when you say, you know, we mentioned the Lizard, which is Kurt Connors. You mentioned Doc Ock. You could just as readily go, oh yeah, they were his former peers. They were competition. He transformed them into monsters to get them out of the way.
yeah. I mean, if I was going to do Marvel plus horror, not Marvel, horror,
Yeah.
I mean, there's Hulk. They did that whole Immortal Hulk thing where Hulk basically, as long as he can plug his body back together, doesn't die. You don't even have to work that hard now to get Hulk into a horror story. Plus, Hulk could always see ghosts.
I mean, there's a friend of ours who's a horror icon that doesn't get horror time anymore.
Okay.
Johnny Blaze and Damian Hellstorm.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. I was a big fan of the short '90s run of Hellstorm as basically Rosemary's Baby meets a cult investigator with satanic cults on the rise in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Right? Let's do some down home horror where our wandering characters have to interact with normal people and uncover evil under the patina of modernity and normality.
All right. And I know we did the show early because it was a makeup show, but I unfortunately have a thing I have to do, so we're going to have to say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody. And hey, we are actually at